this is the rules about what a graph looks like. Okay, so if you have an even exponent, both ends point in the same direction. Okay, if it's positive, the leading coefficient, that number up front, is positive, both sides are pointing where?
Down.
If it's positive, up. So on your paper, I want you to write.
We follow along.
Yeah, y'all are following along. Both sides up, and then you can draw a graph where both sides are going up.
But that's if it's positive and even.
That's if it's positive and if it's even. Alright, if the exponent is still even, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, whatever, but that first number, that leading coefficient, is negative, both ends are pointing where?
Down.
Both ends are pointing down. So I want you to write both sides down. Alright, the next one, this is when the exponent is odd. Okay, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, whatever. But that first number is positive. So the left side
It's up.
Up.
Left side
Down.
is
That's down.
and the right side is up. So it looks something like this. If the exponent is still odd, but the leading coefficient is negative, then it's the opposite, and left points up and right points down. I always just look at the right side. If the right side's pointing up, it has to be positive. Or if the right side is pointing down,
You being discriminated to left-handed people?
I am being.
Ooh.
No. The right side points down, then you know it's got to be negative. Okay? So, on the actual test, it doesn't ask you like this specific question, but there are some questions where it's good to know that information. You can just pick out a graph. Okay? All right. Let's see. Number 2. I said we're going to have a quiz on this, but I kind of forgot. So, this is what you were going to have to fill out. If the discriminant is greater than 0, what kind of number is it? Positive or negative?
Positive.
It's a positive number. So if it's a positive number, we have 2 real solutions. And then you can just sketch me a graph where it shows that we have 2 real. Solutions are where it crosses what axis?
X.
The x-axis. So maybe like on the left side of number 2 or above number 2, write solutions equal roots equal zeros equal x-intercept. Because on the test, there's a couple of different questions, but they all ask the same thing, but they use different terminology. Like this one right here that I'm looking at says, what is the solution? But the one after that says, what are the zeros? So you have to know that they all mean the same thing. Got it? All right, if it's equal to 0, it has how many solutions?
1.
1 real then you draw me a graph where it just crosses once. And if it's less than 0, it's what kind of number?
2 real. 2 non-real.
2 non-real. Non-real what? Complex. Good. So this graph might look something like this, where it don't cross at all. So there's a question on the test that says b squared minus 4ac, and it shows you the graph. Well, you have to look at how many times it crosses to know what to put. So there's a question about number 2, exactly like number 2. Okay, so you might want to put like a star beside number 2. Number 3 are the eyes. There are multiple questions about eyes. Okay, so I to the 0, anything to the 0 power is equal to the number what? 1. Anything to the 1 power is equal to
Itself.
So in this case, it will be I. This one's very important to know. I squared equals.
-1.
So in a minute, when I get ready to simplify a complex equation and it says I squared, what number do I have to plug in to keep solving?
-1.
I have to plug in that -1. If I don't plug it in, it's wrong. Okay? You have to plug in the -1. I cubed is a negative what?
1i.
A negative I. And I to the 4th is just a positive 1. Okay?
I ain't got a clue how that works.
I don't either.
It's because you weren't here.
Oh.
So I'll teach you tomorrow.
I was here and I don't have a clue. Like, what makes you know that? How does I to the 3rd make -I?
Because I third is an I squared and an I. And I squared is a -1. So a -1 times an I is a negative I.
Why isn't it 9 times 9?
No, it's 9.
That
Can
just
we
makes
what?
it a straight I cubed.
Would that make it?
Don't you have to divide it by 4?
In a minute.
So
Yep.
I to the 4 is 1 because -1 times -1 is
Is a
1.
positive 1. And the pattern starts over. So all you have to know is 1 I -1 negative I. And then it just starts over again. Okay? Know the pattern. Alright, these formulas.
Saying like I to the 4th, the same thing as I 0.
Yes, because the pattern starts back over every 4 times. Yeah. Alright, number 4. We learned these Monday. Okay. 2 formulas. There are 2 problems. No, 1 problem on the test that will use these. A plus B. Remember? Kinda, sorta. A squared minus AB plus B squared. So what did I tell you to remember? Did I say remember the letters or remember the signs? Remember the signs. So for the sum, plus, minus, plus. For the difference, what's the word difference mean in math?
Subtract.
Subtract. So you have an A minus B. And then you have an A squared plus AB plus a B squared. So the signs to remember here are negative plus plus.
Or plus, minus, plus.
I don't understand that.
Understand this? These are
Understand how it
these are
works.
just formulas you have to know.
Oh, we gonna have examples.
Yeah, we're gonna do in a minute. I think it's at the end. You have to know it's just a formula you have to know, just like the quadratic formula.
We did this question right here. We did it somewhere.
Yep,
Joe's toss and Alex's toss. Maybe it was on the
midterm.
midterm.
That was Alec
Oh, it was.
and Daniel.
Yeah, it was Alec and Daniel.
I remember
Well,
that
just-
because my dad's name was Daniel.
I just copied the answers. I didn't get those
All right.
in the video.
Number 5. It wants to know who has the greater height and who had the further distance. So, Jose, go sit down.
And texting Chad about, I need to know how I'm getting home.
All right, so Jose, what was his greatest height?
2.
2.2. So I want you to put a star beside 2.2. What was Alexis's greatest height?
4.
So I want you to put a star above his 4.
That's a girl. You said his.
Well, when I had them at the time, it was Alexis Sanchez and Jose Garduzo. So they're
So you
two.
had them last year.
I had them last year, yeah.
Because last year was your first year, wasn't it?
And on the midterm, it was Daniel Jordan and Alec Hernandez.
Think about it. We're her second.
Will you please do my name?
I'll do your name.
We're her second class, so like a long time from now, she'd be like,
Oh my lord. All right, what was Jose's farthest distance?
4.
It was 5, so when you put a circle beside the 5. And Alexis, his distance was what?
4.
So when you put a circle beside 4. So, who had the greater height?
Jose.
Alexis.
It was Alexis. Apologies.
It was Alexis. And who went the farthest?
Jose.
So this question is just being able to look at a graph and a chart and tell me the information. Okay? The exact same question is on the test. It says it goes with Jasmine and Mario, and it has different numbers. Okay?
Where'd you get Jasmine and Mario from?
I don't know. It was already printed. It was on Agile Mind. All right, number 6. Oh, okay. So number 6 does not have a question on it, but what I want us to do on your paper too, from here to about here, is this graph increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
It is decreasing. So I want you to write the word decrease. Then from where I stopped to where I keep going, that is what increase or increase. Now, does this first graph have a minimum point or a maximum point?
Minimum.
Has a minimum, the lowest point. So I want you to circle the minimum point, and I want you to write minimum. Now, what are these right here called?
Opposite.
Directions.
No, the 2 blue dots I'm putting.
Oh, those are their zeros.
Okay, they can be called solutions. They can be called zeros. They can be called x-intercepts, or they can be called
Roots.
roots. Okay, so I don't remember which way it asks, but it asks you what those are called, and it gives you a word bank. Okay, so it's one of those 4. So just know zeros, solutions, x-intercepts, or roots. Okay, now on the other graph, from here to about here, it's doing what? It's increasing. And where I stopped and go down, that is considered a decrease.
And then it's got
It has a maximum, so I want you to put a dot, a point on the max, and I want you to write the word max. And it also has 2 zeros, or 2 solutions, or 2 roots, or 2 x-intercepts, whatever you want to call them. Okay?
I was worried about us getting this done.
Number 7. Okay, can you take the square root of a negative number?
No.
No, but what can you do?
Make it an I.
Make it an I, and you take the square root of the...
The whole number with the I.
What kind of number is it, though? Positive or negative?
Imagine.
Fake.
Positive. Okay, so what is the square root of positive 25? So the square root of negative 25 is going to be 5.
I.
I. Okay? Then we multiply, because that's what it says. What's the square root of negative 36?
6.
6 what?
I. Why don't we use I?
Because they're imaginary.
Because there was some man back a long time ago that said he was going to torture kids one day and make imaginary
All right,
numbers.
now we simplify. So 5 times 6 is what? 30. I times I is? But I squared equals what? Negative 1. So I have to say 30 times a negative 1, which leaves me with a
Negative 30.
negative 30. Questions? Okay.
That's crazy.
Number 8 is so easy. What are the solutions?
-3 and 1.
Look, you're literally just writing or typing where they cross. So a -3 and a +1. Now, it says they are also called roots. Zeros, and there's one more.
Oh,
X-intercepts.
X-intercept. I didn't make enough boxes.
Oh, here's the one. What?
All right, number 9. All numbers are what kind of numbers?
imaginary.
Not imaginary. They're all complex, okay? So this tells us to write in complex form, which is a plus bi. What has to come last, the real or the imaginary?
Imaginary.
The imaginary, okay? So what is the square root of negative 100?
Negative 9.
All right, so we have 10, whoops. We have 10i. But I want to write that in complex form. So does it have a real component?
10.
10.
Well, 10 is the real. 10i is the imaginary component. But does it have an a?
No.
So what do we put?
0.
0. Just 0 plus 10i. Just like the number 5. Remember I said you've been thinking this whole time it's 5. But it's
0.
Can we
Okay.
flip-flop it and do 10I plus 0?
no. It has to be. I has to always come last. All right. Number 10. I'm gonna do synthetic because that's the easiest. All right. So everybody, go ahead and draw your L. Now, when you do synthetic, do you have to use the factor or do you have to use the solution?
Yes.
Yes.
Which one? The solution. Okay. So we want to set x minus 2 equal to 0 and we want to solve. So the first thing I have to do is what? Add 2. So x equals 2. So my solution goes over here. Then, what do I do with all of my coefficients?
You just put them in like 3.
I just line them up. So, 7x cubed. What's the coefficient for x cubed?
3.
No.
7.
7. The coefficient for 4x squared is?
4.
The coefficient for negative 3x is? And the constant is just? Okay. First step in synthetic.
Multiply.
Before that, somebody said it. Bring down the 7. Good, Ty. Now, we multiply. 2 times 7 is? Then we combine. If it's a positive number, what are we going to do? We're going to add. If it's a negative number, we're obviously going to subtract. So 4 and 14 make,
Negative,
18.
they make 18. All right, then we start over.
36.
18 times 2 is
36.
36.
So 33.
Negative 3 plus 36.
39.
33.
I can't get there.
33. 33 times 2,
66. Oh, we can't do that.
5 plus 66 is
71.
71. Okay. Now, we have not done a problem with a remainder. What was the highest power we started with? X what?
7.
The highest power.
Cubed.
X cubed. So our answer has to be 1 less. So we're going to start with an X
Squared.
squared. Okay? I'm just going to write my numbers in the bottom in order. So I have a 7x squared plus 18x plus 33. Now, I'm out of x's and I'm out of constants. So, 71 is my remainder. To do a remainder,
R.
you just say plus, it's a plus because 71's positive. If it was negative, you'd write minus. Plus 71 over x minus 2.
What happens when you put R?
That's not how you do synthetic. That's how you learned in like 4th grade.
Exactly. And that's the way it needs to be. Why,
That's the way I remember.
why didn't they just teach us the right way first?
Fourth grade, they taught the right way. Why don't we just
Alright, questions on this. If you're a long division kind of person, you can use long division as well. Okay?
We should do synthetic one more time on this next one or whatever next one we do.
Well, next one's eyes. So we're combining. Okay? So what do I have to do with this 2? Distribute. 2 times 3. 2 times negative 4i.
Negative 8i.
Plus 6i times 3.
18
6i times negative 3i.
Negative 18.
I what?
Squared. So that makes it a negative.
Alright, so we're going to plug in what for I squared?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. So I have 6 minus 8i plus 18i minus 18 and negative 1. So 6 minus 8i plus 18i plus 18. Now I have to combine like terms. So I combine my constants first. So 6 plus 18 is...
24.
Now I combine my i's, and negative 8 plus 18 leaves me with
10.
10i.
Is that it?
Uh-uh. All right. Number...
That's all you gotta do on that.
Oh, yeah, on that problem, yeah.
Can we use that way on everything?
For eyes, yeah.
For
Oh,
i's.
for eyes.
That's eye specific.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're just combining like terms because what's in the middle of those set of parentheses?
A plus.
Plus sign. Okay, so we're just combining. So, does a positive trump a negative or a negative trump a positive? Negative trumps a positive. So, we have 4 minus 2.
2.
2. And then we have 7 minus 8, which is a negative 1. So you can say 2 minus 1i, or it can be written as 2 minus I.
That's it.
On that one. All right, the next one has adding and subtracting. So you just want to take it one step at a time. So work left to right. So negative 8 plus 9i. Can we do anything with that? No. So we're just going to bring it down. Now, what do we have to do with this negative?
Make it positive. Or distribute it.
I have distributed, but it's going to make both of my numbers what?
Positive.
Positive. So we have a
3 and
plus 3 and a plus 2i.
plus 6i minus 7. No, plus 6i plus 7.
Yeah, we're just bringing it down. Now, we combine like terms. Can I combine an I with a constant? No, I can only combine constants and constants and i's and i's. So what has to come first, the constant or the I?
Constant.
Constant. So we have a negative 8 plus 3
Plus 7.
plus 7, which is
2.
positive 2. So when I get done, I tend to mark mine out. And then we have to combine our i's. So we have a 9 plus 2, which is 11, plus 6 more.
17i.
So we have 2 plus 17i. Now, number 14. You must also know the quadratic formula. So, quadratic formula.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
The square root of b squared minus 4ac. What she said.
Good.
How do you remember that?
How do you, I don't know, I was sitting down eating lunch and it just like
It just clicked.
a revelation, just, it came right into my mind.
I do not think about math when I'm trying to eat my chicken nugget.
All right, so when you do quadratic problems,
That roll was fire.
one side has to be set equal to what? It has to be set equal to 0. So if you ever have numbers on both sides, you're going to have to move them to one or the other, okay? So, on this equation, or this quadratic problem, what does A equal?
The 2x squared.
2.
Just the 2, just the term. B,
3. Negative 3.
negative 3, and C equals 4. All right? So now I want you to take those three values and I want you to plug them in to your quadratic formula. So the question on the test that involves this gives you a problem, and it gives you different choices of numbers plugged into the quadratic formula. So you've got to know the quadratic formula in order to do this problem, otherwise you're not going to know where the numbers go. Okay? What happens to these two negatives right here out front?
They cancel.
They don't cancel. They become positive. Is that what you meant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have 3 plus or minus. What does all that equal under the square root? Has anybody done that yet?
40.
9 minus 32.
Wait, what?
You say everything under the square root.
Under the square root.
It should be 40.
It should, 2 times 4 is 6.
I got negative.
4 times 8 is 30.
I got negative 23.
So I got, for which one?
Everything under the square root.
Oh, I wasn't doing PEMDAS.
Everything. How do you get 29? 6 times 2. What?
Is the negative 3 squared going to equal positive 9? because it's -3 times -3.
It'll be a positive
You
9.
get 23.
I got negative 23.
Negative 23, that's what I said.
Oh, y'all can't see that. Let
You
me.
say 29 or something?
23.
So we have positive 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 23 over 4. Alright, so in this case, you cannot simplify anymore. Well, you can get decimals, but we don't like decimals.
You can do 3 plus 23 over 4 and 3 minus negative
Do
23
the I
over 4.
thing,
Boom.
you can do the,
Mm.
You can.
I like the I thing.
Like this.
If they got you over.
You can do that. You can pull that negative out and stick an I out front.
Or, I thought it would be behind it.
Either way. I always put it in front because if I put it behind it, I think it's under the square root. But the problem on the test just asks you for the quadratic formula and when to plug in values. Okay? Now, 15 and 16, you have to know that the pattern starts every what times?
4.
Every 4 times.
Straight one off.
You can't do it in the calculator. So,
You do 64 divided by 4.
67.
67 divided by 4.
is it,
Alright, so number 15, you have to divide by 4 because that's your pattern. Every 4 times.
Right.
So 4 goes into 67. How many times does 4 go into 6?
Where'd you get 4 from?
1.
The pattern on the first page, those I's, they repeat every 4 times.
Once.
1 times 4.
4.
Subtract and you get 2 and you bring down your 7.
8 times. No.
Not 8 times.
9. 3, 4, 6.
6. 6 times 4 is...
24.
Now, here's where you need to do this on paper. Unless you just know your fractions like a whiz. 7 minus 4 is what?
3.
3. So you have a remainder of 3. Okay? So your answers, when you do problems like this, are I to your remainder. So I to the 3rd power is what?
Negative I.
Negative I. So my answer here
Is negative.
is negative I.
Will we be able to use
So we
our
just take the
calculator on the
remainder.
midterm, or on this thing? Let's go.
What time you gonna come tomorrow?
Whenever.
What time you got lunch?
12:20 to 12:50.
I'm just gonna come
I'll
by.
come in at 12:19.
Okay.
What, you ate in here?
I ate in Sachella's room.
Oh, Dad, I'm running.
All right. The next one's a little bit different because you have to do some more division.
Holy cow.
So 4 and 2487. Obviously, you do not want to sit here and count every 4 times to 2487. Okay? So how many times does 4 go into 24?
6 times.
6 times 24 is,
6 times 4.
that. 6 times 4 is
24.
24.
0.
0, and I bring down my 8.
4 times 8 is 36.
No. 4 goes into 8. 2 times. 2 times 4.
8.
And I bring down my 7.
It will not go in. It'll go to 7 one time.
It'll go in there 1 time.
Remainder 3, so negative I.
So again, the same problem, or the same thing is I to the R, which is a I cubed, which is a negative I. All right, number 17 and 18 are what we did Monday. It goes with those two formulas that we wrote, the sum and difference of cubes. You don't cube them, you cube root them. Yeah. So on the first one, we have 216x cubed plus 64. So 216x cubed. Now, to take the cube root, you can think in your head, what times what times what equals 216, or you can go on your calculator and you can hit math 4 and type in 216. What is it? 6. Now, is my answer just 6?
No, 16x.
It's 6x. Now, remember, if you have letters, okay, you want to say my power divided by my root. So what's my power in this case? 3. And my root is always going to be what?
1.
What kind of root am I taking?
X.
My root's a number.
6. Cube. It's cube.
Cube root. Okay? Power divided by root. So 3 divided by 3 is just 1. So that means I have 1x. Now, take the cube root of just 64. 4. Does that have a letter?
No, so it's 6x plus 4.
Okay. So this problem, is this going to be a sum of cubes or a difference of cubes?
So
It's going to be a sum. So flip back to number 4, and I want you to write the sum of cubes formula.
A plus B. A squared minus AB plus B squared.
Haven't we already written that? Yeah, I thought we already written it.
You need to write it again because I guarantee y'all don't know.
But what if we did it?
Well, it's right there.
Oh, write it again?
Yeah, write it again.
On 17 or on 4?
On 17, you're using number 4 to write number 17.
I know it now.
I hope y'all know them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So now, what comes first in the alphabet? A or B?
A.
A. So what's going to be first? 6x or 4?
6x.
X.
So 6x is A and 4 is B. So you're taking that information and you're plugging it in. Now, on the second set of parentheses where it says A squared, that does not mean you say 6x squared. You were actually squaring the entire thing. So 6 squared is what?
36x.
It's like this. You're actually squaring the whole thing. So a 6x times a 6x, 36x squared, okay? And then you have minus A times B, which is 24x plus a B squared, so 4 squared is 16.
Did we do this Monday?
Huh?
We did this Monday, right?
Yeah, we did. Not right now. We have one more. Then you can go. All right. What's different about number 18?
It doesn't have a number on the X.
Well, did you simplify it though?
Huh?
36 minus 24x plus 36x squared. 36x squared plus 24x.
All right. So a couple things. It doesn't have a number in front of the x. And it also has what kind of sign?
Negative. Subtract.
Negative.
It's got the subtraction, okay? So it's going to be what kind of cubes?
3? No.
Some are different.
Oh,
Difference. So, go ahead, write your difference of cubes formula somewhere. Alright, so we take the cube root of both terms just like we did on the first one. So the cube root of x cubed. Do you have any numbers? Nope. So I have any letters? I do have a letter. I have x. So my power divided by my root. So 3 divided by 3 leaves me with how many x's?
1.
So this is just x. Since it's the first,
Like 1. No, never mind.
you could write 1x.
No, I was thinking something else.
Okay.
I was thinking divided.
Oh, okay. So since this is the first term, that's a.
So the cube root of 3, negative 343.
You don't use the signs, just use the numbers. The cube root of 343 is 7.
7.
And that equals b. So now you take that information and you plug it into this formula. And you get x minus 7, x squared plus 7x plus 49.